The reboot of the Fantastic Four movie is right around the corner. From its first announcement, the movie has been surrounded in controversy. Some fans think the Fantastic Four rights should return to Marvel so they can be implemented in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, while others are okay with it being under Fox as long as they give it the love and care its pedigree deserves. Yet one thing both sides seem to agree on is that the race difference between Johnny and Sue Storm makes absolutely no sense. And this is odd because that kind of making that issue far more complicated than it really should be in the 21st century. I'm not going to delve into whether we should be re-racing, if that's even a word, classic characters. Instead, I'm going to focus purely on the science behind how Sue Storm can be white, while Johnny sports a more cocoa complexion. Keep in mind I haven't seen the movie yet, so it's entirely possible the movie explains this, and this video will be 100% useless, as opposed to right now where it's mostly useless. Anyone who's taken a Bio 100 class should remember how dominant recessive genes work. For those of you who don't, I'm here to explain everything with a simple table called a Punnett square. Let's say a black man and a white woman have a child together. What skin color would that child have? If you said brown, you're right, but it's a bit more complicated than that. See, the father has two dominant genes, while the mother has two recessive genes. So that would give the child both a dominant and recessive gene, and the dominant gene in this case, of course, is the black skin, while the recessive gene is the white skin. Even though they're half and half, the dominant gene is just that, it's dominant. So the child is kind of like brown, maybe even a mocha complexion, slightly lighter than his father, instead of looking more like a s'more. But that doesn't make the recessive gene useless. It actually does come into play when that offspring decides to have offspring of their own. Let's say this person decides to make it a family tradition and marry another Caucasian. What color would their children be? If you said brown, you'd be right half of the time. In reality, it's more of a coin flip, because you remember that recessive gene? It's still there. It's just kind of hiding. And using the Punnett square, we can see how half of their children would have brown skin, while the other half would be white. It's not just a theory, it's how my family is, and lots of others. Like this family right here. These two, I believe they're twins, but, well, they're twins in the sense that they two separate eggs were fertilized. But they're still kind of twins in that respect. Even though they look completely different and nothing alike, one has the dominant gene from one parent and the other has a recessive gene. So it's really interesting stuff, and considering how mixed-race marriages are rising here in America and probably all around the world, you'll see more mixed-race families like this. So you can kind of see how this fits in with the rebooted Storm family. Clearly one parent must be mixed-race while another one is white. And this is assuming they're biological siblings with the same mother. Who knows, maybe they're step-siblings or one or both are adopted. But considering how confused a lot of these comic book geeks are, and I always assume that they were pretty intelligent nerds, but considering how confused they are, I'm kind of hoping it's the biological issue, because it could prove a really interesting teaching moment for everyone. And so, whenever we become smarter, that's always great. And it would also be great if the movie didn't suck like the last two Fantastic Four movies did.